Hi guys, welcome back to the show, and this week's movie review. Fate of the Furious, or otherwise known as Fast and Furious 8, The Search for More Money, because they had to be thinking that to come out with an 8th film in this franchise. Now, I've never really been the biggest Fast and Furious fan. I'm not gonna lie, because I've watched basically every film that's come out, but in the original trilogy, I was on board and then kind of got off board when Tokyo Drift happened, and then I was back on board when they got to 4, 5, and 6, when they kind of rejuvenated this franchise all over again. But I really thought that they really should have wrapped this up with 7. So to hear that they made an 8, I was kind of like, ugh, do I really want to see this? Lo and behold, I actually did it, so I can't wait to tell you guys what I thought. So, as always, let's start with the cast of this film. The cast of this film, I mean, if you're really at Fast and Furious 8, you know who's in the movie. I mean, the only important pieces at this time now are really Vin Diesel as Dom and The Rock as Hobbs. I mean, I guess you can count Jason Statham because he makes a return to the franchise because he was in the last movie. He's now back in this particular movie, and we'll go into how they, well, we're not going to go into it, but they kind of bring him onto the team. That would be kind of spoilerish for me to tell you how, but it somehow makes sense, maybe? I mean, if you didn't watch Fast and Furious 6. The other noteworthy person in this film is actually going to be Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron has done great in action movies as of late. She is basically now our action heroine at this point. She's done such great movies like Mad Max, and she's also the villain in this film, and she's been a great villain as of late. She in Snow White and the Huntsman and Prometheus. When you think of movies like that, that was one of the things that did interest me about seeing this film. So those are probably the most noteworthy people that are in the cast of this film. Everybody else has been here from 2 on, and that you already know who's in the rest of this film. So let's go ahead and talk about the plot of this film. So the plot of this film, I mean, it's Fast and Furious, so it's fast cars, destruction, unrealistic Fast and Furious action. That's the plot of any Fast and Furious movie. It didn't change in this one. The only thing that we get different in this film is that now, and this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailers, is that Dom has gone rogue, and now the team has to figure out how to take him down or how to bring back family. I'm sorry, I had to do that one. I know it was lame, but I had to do that. And that's really how this movie sums up in a nutshell. How does his own team have to take him down? Because he would be their biggest threat. I mean, they've taken down everybody else in different walks of life and different action movie genre or stereotypes. Dom is the greatest thing that they've ever gone up against, being kind of forced to be there by Charlize Theron. So, how do they do it? Well, we'll talk around that issue. We talk about what I did like and what I didn't like in this film, and the goods and the bads. So the goods of this film is that it's stupid Fast and Furious action. You have to get on board for that. That's its plus. It's always been its plus. Everything that they do in action scenes kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, keeps you engaged in the film, and you always kind of like, how are they going to get out of this particular mess? Even though it's unrealistic, the unrealistic is what you want to buy in this film. I'm waiting on the one where they go to space because that's got to happen because they went up against a nuclear sub. And if that is the best that they can do, the only other place that they can go is space. Other things I liked about this film, surprisingly, was Jason Statham. Because even though it's some plot holes on his return back to this film, he had some of the scene stills. His character, in a sense, was kind of filling in for Paul Walker's character, because obviously there was a member of the team, a couple members of the team missing now, so they had to bring somebody in, and that's kind of his role. I don't want to say that he actually became Paul Walker in a sense, or the Brian character, but I understand why they brought him in, and his scenes actually were really exciting, and those were some of the best scenes of the film. And as always, the other thing that I liked about this film is The Rock. I mean, The Rock's exciting in everything he's done, his charisma, you know, his brutality in his own action scenes. You kind of believe that The Rock is a superhero at this point, and Fast and Furious definitely sells him as a superhero. All they had to do was give him a cape and it would have been perfect. All right, so that's where I'm going to stop as far as the things that I liked about it and the goods. Let's go ahead and roll on to the things that I didn't like and the bads. Now, the bads of this film, and I just made mention of it with Jason Statham, is that this film has a huge hole, Paul Walker size hole. They reference him at one particular point in the movie, but it's so awkward when they reference him, they really didn't need to. But because of the way all the other movies were set up with Vin Diesel and Paul Walker kind of leading the story and the action in this film, nobody else really filled in Paul Walker's role the correct way. So Jason Statham is there primarily to do that, but the way that they use him in the film, it doesn't do enough to where Paul Walker's character would have done. And the way that this movie sets up for as far as Dom going rogue, who else would bring him back but Brian? So for him not being the one to help the team bring back Dom, it really kind of left you was like, man, they really missed a boat on this story. So I mean, they do have some other storylines that kind of explain more or less on how they can get him back and why he's doing what he's doing, but it would have fit better if this was a story that had Brian in it. And unfortunately, we can't have him because he's no longer with us. Maybe this should have been Fast and Furious 7, or maybe this movie shouldn't have been made to begin with. I'm on board for that one, but that's that. Other things that I didn't like in the movie is, and I have to say it, this movie is built as a team. And it's like we have components and everybody has a job. Unfortunately, this is the first movie where I felt like they had pointless characters. I'm sorry, Ludacris. I'm sorry, Michelle Rodriguez. And I'm sorry for Emmanuel. I can't think of her first name for the love of God right now. But their characters were pointless. They gave them one quick 2-minute scene to kind of give them a point. And outside of driving cars at the end of this film, they really didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't mention them in the beginning cast because if they had not been listed or not appeared in this film, you would have not missed them at all. And that was, oh God. All right, so I'm gonna stop there with those. The last thing that I had as far as the bad in this film is that the way it wraps up, the way we kind of figure out how to close this film out is total convenience. And I know I'm saying that it's a Fast and Furious movie. Did I really expect an Oscar-winning script? Or did I really expect to be moved by something? No. But sometimes you can't have so many convenient things happen to where, like, if one of these things didn't happen, the whole plan falls apart and none of this stuff would have actually gone the way and none of the stuff would have worked out. So that's my only gripe with that. It was like, I wasn't expecting a lot, and that part just like, they couldn't have thought of something better than that. But anyway, that's where I'm gonna stop on the bads. And I always have to tell you if I like this movie, if I didn't like this movie, with a good or a bad. I mean, I'm at Fast and Furious 8, so I guess this is not the worst Fast and Furious movie. It's not the best Fast and Furious movie, but it's not the worst. So I guess I gotta give it a good because it's not Tokyo Drift bad. That's gonna be my dividing line. Is it Tokyo Drift bad, or is it Fast and Furious 5 good? It's in the middle somewhere, so I guess I gotta give it a good. Should you go out and see this movie? Well, if you've seen the other 7, I mean, you kind of have to see 8 at this point. If you've never seen a Fast and Furious movie, then, I mean, it's too late. You don't want to jump at this one because there's too many storylines going on right now. You just be confused. You might as well go back through 1 through 7, and if you make it that far, then go ahead and jump on for 8. If you are an action film junkie that likes cars and chicks in short dresses and unrealistic action, this is the movie for you. It's a popcorn flick. I mean, it's a definite popcorn flick, and I know I stood up for Triple X. This is on board with a Triple X type film where, wait, that didn't sound right. But this is on board with the Vin Diesel's Triple X franchise, to where you don't expect it to really like move you. You just expect it to be fun. And this movie is fun. I mean, there's some places where it slows down, but overall, this movie is fun. I will say that. All right, so that's all I got for this week's movie review. We'll be back with something else because we got some big ones coming out pretty soon. So I'll be here to tell you guys about those. Take care.